Watching Feminist Frequency's video on Dollhouse, I had this sense that she just didn't get the show. For a much more extended examination of Dollhouse, see Going Rampant's series.
Most of the engagements are men trying to fulfill a fantasy. Dollhouse is really a glorified brothel. Dollhouse is really misogynistic.
I think that what should be made clear here is that the fictional organization is what is misogynistic. The show itself, which takes its title from the name of the organization, is not, or at least could not be said to be for this reason. The show depicts male fantasies in a rather negative light. In fact, I would argue that it is the primary way the audience is shown that the dollhouse is bad, is through its exploitation and misogyny. If the dolls were only rented out as super spies, as we see in a couple of episodes, I doubt that it would raise our alarm bells the way it does. I should note here, though, that there are male dolls in the dollhouse, and that not every client is male, nor is every engagement for the purpose of sex. What is further dumbfounding about this video is that at an allegorical level, the dollhouse is not unlike the Hollywood Anita attacks in her videos. All actors are pretending to be someone else. Many of them are asked to do degrading things or to sexualize themselves for the audience's benefit. In a sense, Dollhouse is fictionalized Hollywood. Women pretend to be other people who are pretending to be people. Except that because it's a sci-fi show, and non-existent technology is presented as implanting an identity rather than acting from a television script. The allegory of the show seems lost on Anita in the most ironic way because she believes that her own moral sense is more attuned than that of the writers.
In Dollhouse, we're, as the viewer, supposed to condemn the dollhouse. We're not supposed to like it. We're supposed to think it's morally and ethically wrong to do these things to these people. Yet, we identify with all of the characters in the dollhouse.
Hannah Arendt coined the phrase, the banality of evil, after reporting on the trial of Adolf Eichmann, in which he used the defense that he was only doing his job in explaining his role in the Holocaust. Arendt's point was that people who commit evil deeds often defy our expectations of what evil is. Rather than all of them being a bunch of depraved psychopaths, the people who participate in evil are often ordinary, and they're only going along with the system. In real life, the people who run the corporations that are polluting the environment and exploiting workers are likely the banal sorts of people who take their children to soccer practice. Feminist Frequency seems to want a rather stereotypical black and white depiction of mustache-twirling evil.
If we're not supposed to like Dollhouse, which I think we're not supposed to, then why are we sympathetic with all of the characters inside of the dollhouse?
I think that these characters are humanized to a degree that we understand them on an intellectual level, even if we disagree with their actions. Honestly, I don't think this show would have worked if they had made the characters all unlikable. And Topher, in particular, is basically Dr. Frankenstein, which is the oldest of science fiction characters, and falls under the mad scientist trope.
Josh Whedon on Whedon-esque.com was quoted as saying that part of the pitch to renew for a second season was that they were going to go in the direction of the season finale. I think we have enough crazy serial killing, murdering men on television that we don't need to add to the repertoire with Dollhouse. The season finale was just cover my ears, cover my eyes. I didn't want to watch a single other episode of Dollhouse after that. It was just so grotesquely violent. It was unnecessary. It's this crazy, maniacal guy who was damaged by the dollhouse, which we're sympathetic to, right? Doing all these crazy things, so now he becomes the enemy and the dollhouse is kind of in that gray middle zone area.
There's a major problem with this statement, and that's that this episode to which she refers was not the season finale. The season finale jumps forward from the continuing story of the first season and depicts a dystopic, post-apocalyptic near future in which the technology of the dollhouse has turned the world upside down. Alpha's damage from the dollhouse foreshadows the disastrous consequences of the dollhouse's technology. It's not really meant to make us sympathetic.
This news is troubling in that I really didn't want Terminator: The Sarah Connor Chronicles to get canceled. I thought it was a really good show. Also, the show is based on the Terminator movies, which most of us have probably seen, that are kind of big macho fests about, you know, gore and violence and blowing things up and robots. The whole sci-fi chase scene thing. But Sarah Connor, although it had those elements, was actually really smart. It fused together the action part of the sci-fi genre, but it also brought in character development that was really well done. The show is also mostly about a woman. She's an independent, tough, single mom that's trying to protect her son.
I have a movie recommendation for Anita. It's about a strong single mother who will fight at all costs to protect her son. The movie is called Terminator 2. Well, it's easy to compare a movie to a television show based on a movie and say that the TV show has more character development and is less action-driven. It's also important to examine the differences between television and a movie. For one thing, television shows are longer and thus have more time for character development. Even though the Sarah Connor Chronicles only lasted one season, its running time is longer than all of the Terminator movies combined. Movies, on the other hand, aren't usually longer than 2 or 3 episodes of a 45-minute television show. Movies do, however, have 2 key advantages over television. First is that movies generally have a larger budget. Doctor Who produces 13 episodes for around £13 million. Avatar cost $500 million before the marketing campaign. If movies cost so much more but are shorter than a television series, then where does all the money go?
The whole sci-fi chase scene thing.
That's right. It mostly goes to the production value. Movies also have the advantage over television shows on more time spent filming. Television shows typically film at a breakneck pace, maybe one 45-minute episode every 8 days or so. And while there may be plenty of examples of movies shot quickly, more special effects laden high production value movies take months to film. So a television show really has to focus on character development because they make more product in less time with less money. Dialogue is cheaper than epic battle scenes. So the Sarah Connor Chronicles has more in terms of character development than the movies, but it's sort of like comparing apples to oranges. And I find it disingenuous to simply write off the Terminator movies as macho fest, when in fact a fair examination of the movies would show that they do have philosophical, if not feminist, substance. Ideas like fate, the inevitability of Judgment Day, humans versus machines, human capacity for self-destruction, etc.
I know that Joss Whedon is capable of writing really good quality television that's critical and analytical and has social commentary while still being entertaining and fun. So I don't know why he can't do that again.
Now, I'm going to make a rather controversial statement that is probably going to get a lot of fanboys and fangirls to hate me, but I have never personally been blown away by any Joss Whedon things that I have ever seen. That's not to say that I hate them or that I think that they're bad. They've just never quite caught me. I'm not a huge fan, so don't interpret me as one of those people that's like, I must defend Joss Whedon and everything he does from the haters. Nonetheless, seeing the show, in watching this video, I felt that it seemed that she didn't quite get the allegory and the themes, and I don't quite get the connection between the criticism that she levels against the show and why it was a bad show, because, I mean, the dollhouse is not supposed to be good. If it was true that you're supposed to root for the dollhouse, and you're truly supposed to be sympathetic to it, not just in a modern television, morally gray sort of way, but if you were actually supposed to think that the dollhouse was cool and great, then I could see where she's coming from in her criticism, but I mean, the whole point of the show was the dollhouse was bad and they were trying to stop it. So, I mean, I just don't quite get what her problem with the show was. The content of the show and how it's, you know, kind of dark and ugly, yeah, I get that. But what the problem with the show was, I'm not getting that from this video. And I do think that there was more intelligence and thought-provoking aspects to this show than she's giving it credit for.